Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is Michelle, and who's here with me?
It's Pumpkin Spice Basic Bitch.
It's JD.
Guys, I just said
I'm a peanut butter basic bitch over here.
Michelle and I both needed to fortify our strength as we dove into some more recordings here. I myself had a pumpkin spice bagel that I then topped with a pumpkin spice butter. And I don't care how you feel about pumpkin spice, because I fucking love it. And I may be riding a pumpkin spice bagel butter high for a while.
We need to put a not safe for work tag on this one, because you just straight spitting porn at these people. I don't know if they can handle all the bagel talk.
Oh, I love me some bagels. Anyway,
I love me some bagels.
It's JD.
You know what I love
right.
more than bagels? I love horror.
I do. I think you're right. I believe, yes, I do enjoy horror more than I enjoy bagels. But that's saying quite a lot.
It's also funny that we chose to take a little snack break right before we start a fan film called Family Recipe.
You think that was a coincidence, Michelle? I planned that shit this way.
Well, shit.
I'm kidding. I definitely did not. It's a complete accident.
Complete accident. Well,
this is
you know what's not an accident? Spooktober. We planned it out, you guys.
This is the fourth episode we've recorded on this particular night. One of them was a fucking hour long. We're really getting into the deep waters here. I love these. Michelle, we got to do more of these marathon recording sessions. This is a good time.
Do we?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
We still got to talk about Friday the 13th, by the way, if you know what I mean. I don't know if we're going to be able to pull off what we were planning on pulling off, but we got to talk about it.
I have concerns. Yeah, we'll talk off air about the
anyway,
that
guys.
Won't come to fruition.
What are we talking about today, Michelle? It's fan films. We're watching shorts all Spooktober long. It's fan films from popular franchises this week. What are we talking about?
Well, you're talking about family recipes. You know, my family has a really good tater tot hot dish recipe. I thought maybe we should make a whole episode just about recipes that have been passed down through our families. Tater tot recipe, instead of using cheese, you use a jar of Alfredo sauce. It changes everything.
Ooh. I just recently, speaking of family recipes, just recently, since I was a boy, since I was just a little 3-4-year-old boy, because for the longest time my parents and my brother and I lived in the same house with my grandma, because my grandfather had unfortunately passed and all their kids were old enough to not be at home anymore, and she had this big house and she was the only person there, so we went to live with her. And since I was a boy, I've been eating my grandmama's sausage gravy. And look, I know some of you are cook people and you're like, sausage gravy is like a sausage country gravy is fucking nothing. That's like the easiest thing in the world to make. And okay, fine. Get off my back. Anyway, long story. This is part of the therapy chat indirectly, clearly.
Yeah, I'm getting comfortable over here.
So grandma used to make it, and then mom made it, and then I hadn't had it for the longest time. And then I got grandma's recipe, and I made sausage gravy from grandma's recipe for the first time at 43 years old. And I feel like I am very close to a stage in my life where I just, as a matter of course, like every Sunday at some point during the day, I go out to the kitchen, and I just fucking brew up like a gallon of sausage gravy and just put it in the fridge for the week, right? You know, and just fucking put it on everything. Fucking throw it in the microwave in a bowl by itself. Call it fucking, I don't know, breakfast soup or something. Fuck, I think Chris Maddock has a joke about that. I think Chris Maddock has a joke about somebody thinking sausage gravy was breakfast soup. I fucking love Chris Maddock. He's a comedian from the Twin Cities. If you don't know him, check him out. Anyway, that was a real detour. Holy shit.
Oh, you and I love metrics, and so far I thought you'd be pleased to know that over half of this episode so far is you talking about sausage gravy. And then second, if it's your
delicious.
first time tuning in.
You mentioned
yes,
family recipes, Michelle. You brought this on.
Yes.
Blaming you.
If it's your first time tuning in, JD can go on a rant about anything. Welcome.
Sorry, guys.
This is my life. Although it did make me really hungry for sausage gravy, but we're not
make
getting
you
that
some.
at 1 a.m. At 1 a.m? Anyway, okay, let's talk
Do you
about
have any
some real
idea how
family
easy it
recipes.
is, Michelle? Here's what you need. You need
Nope.
butter and
Nope.
flour and milk and sausage. That's it.
Well, I'm a vegetarian. You know who's not a vegetarian? Me, but also
Freddie
Leatherface.
Leatherface.
Yep, let's talk about family recipe and not, well, I was going to say not the food kind, but
Not
I guess for some
sausage
people
gravy.
it might be. Not sausage gravy, although, man, I'm hungry now. Okay.
Oh, you want some black pepper in there, too. I should make that. Anyway.
So Gus Trapani, he cooked up a little something.
Yeah, he
cooked
did.
up a fan film about the Texas Chain Saw Massacre. And JD and I, he may not be showing it so far because he's fucking obsessed with gravy now, but he and I are huge fans of the Texas Chain Saw Massacre.
Guys,
So
yeah,
it was exciting to get to do this one.
We did a whole episode a while back earlier this year about the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, just as a classic that we wanted to take a moment to look. It goes back and forth, right? 1A, 1B. Depending on what day you ask me, you'll get one of these two answers. But if you ask me what the most intense fucking horror experiences I've ever had, what I think the best horror movies ever made are, it's John Carpenter's Halloween in 1978, and it's Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974. I fucking... now, and also to be honest, I don't dislike the rest of the movies in the franchise. I think Chainsaw 2 is really solid, but it's its own kind of movie. It doesn't try to recreate the same sort of vibe. And similar with Halloween, I'm a big fan of the first one, but not so much the franchise as a whole. But yeah, if you can nail a solid tribute to one of those movies in any way, you've really got something, for at least from my eyes.
My favorite horror movie is Jason X. He's in space. I'm lying, but only partially.
Fuck
okay,
you! You almost made me spit take my Mountain Dew Zero Sugar.
Good.
Hey, Mountain Dew Zero Sugar, sponsor us. You think Mountain Dew Zero
Shudder
Sugar is
won't.
listening?
Why would they?
They're totally
Okay,
listening.
The family
right? Anyway,
recipe. We are 8 minutes into it. All these people know about this episode is that you like gravy.
and the
And
Texas
I like
Chainsaw
nothing.
Massacre. I'm gonna
Okay,
put the microphone
so-
down now.
That's okay. I am just going to sum up the plot. We are not doing a spoiler-free section on these short episodes because originally they were intended to be, short episodes about shorts. But we're 8 minutes in, and we've talked about all sorts of food and not this clip yet.
Pumpkin spice bagels.
I watched him pick up the microphone and I knew it was coming. Okay, so if you haven't seen Family Recipe, you can check out on YouTube. It's from Gus Trapani. This week for Spooktober, we were doing all fan films. So a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan film, totally up our alley. Let's dig in, shall we? Dinner's up. I'm so sorry. Okay, so in Family Recipe, 3 people go to a gas station. One girl, she has to use the bathroom, but then she's not going to use the bathroom. She's going to use her voice to try to scream because she's being stolen by Leatherface, and he's got her now. And then the other 2 guys, they go in and they talk to the best person in this fan film, who is the employee, and he's just really silly. He's got a lot of quips. I really like that guy. And then they're like, where'd our lady friend go? And then they find the lady friend, and then they also find Leatherface, and then the lady friend gets away, and Leatherface does his little spinny thing in the road, and it's pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff that is an homage to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, including the fact that Leatherface is in it. The end.
There's a lot of homages, including the fact that Leatherface was in it. That's a beautiful line, Michelle.
Yeah, that's a fun bonus fact that people who aren't true horror fans might not know, but
that is
this does have a character
commentary.
inspired by there's a character inspired by a guy from the original film.
There's a character
Leatherface.
inspired by Leatherface. He's called Leatherface.
Yeah, this is great.
Looks like Leatherface, acts like Leatherface. What did you think of this film, Michelle, as a something in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre universe?
So I have something super nitpicky to say, so I'm going to save it for later because I don't even think most people would notice. It's just one of those things that got into my craw. I don't know if that's the phrase. I don't know what the fuck a craw is. Do I even have a craw? No clue. But it's unfortunate that my favorite thing about this was the employee who just had a lot of shit to say. I would have preferred if Leatherface had stolen the show, but man, that employee really he tickled my fancy. So there's that guy, but then I think part of it is that there's a little too much of him, and that's why he stole the show. I think the parts that are an homage to the original film, where he's doing the swinging the chainsaw above his head, the lady escapes kind of in the same way that the first lady from the first Texas Chainsaw did, the way he's spinning around in the streets. I thought that they did the costume. The costume was pretty accurate. It's based on the original Leatherface. In case,
even as simple as stopping at a gas station, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's so much of kind of like it's less like a lot of the fan films that we've seen. They took something from the movie and they built upon it. This is almost like a retelling of part of one of the films. If they had just stopped at the gas station and then encountered Leatherface instead of gone to his house, and that just might have been hard to create a whole murder room, so they're like, we'll just do it at the gas station instead. So yeah, I overall enjoyed it. I would have liked a lot more of murder. I wanted a lot more murder. Just give me that murder. It's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I feel like I didn't get a lot of the chainsaw or the massacre, but there is a guy in a cowboy hat, so I did get plenty of Texas.
That's fair. Yeah, I know what you mean about the attendant in the hat and the white tank top shirt that has a really repulsive name that a lot of people use for it. He's super quippy and he's an interesting character. I think if memory serves, there are a couple of things he says that are a little cringy on the "ooh, you're a real edgelord" kind of vibe. But he also takes a shotgun blast to the chest ultimately in the movie, right? And he's supposed to be a bad guy, so there's that. But no, again, I appreciate the ambition on this, but that was actually something that was so interesting to me. Is by the time I was done with this, I was like, was this supposed to it's like half remake, half its own story, and it was just so odd in that sense. I wasn't sure what kind of a vibe they were going for, and then in a lot of interesting ways, it seemed like from a plot perspective and even a perspective of, interestingly enough, you mentioned you don't see a lot of gore and splatter in this, but I mean, everybody remembers that about the original Texas Chainsaw, but that's one of the most also quoted fascinating things about it is the movie is almost bloodless, right? Like, you see a lot of implications, and I think this movie understands that its special effects budget is going to be very limited, and so I thought it did some clever things in the way it presented its chainsaw violence and such. But then also at the same time, the way, the kind of, I don't know, they probably shot this digitally, but their After Effects and everything, it very much had that look of the Michael Bay produced mid 2000s. I don't know, did it come out 2007? Anyway, those newer Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies has that real gritty hyper focused kind of vibe. Which I've just never really cared for as a visual look. It's the Rob Zombie Halloween movies did the same thing. Look, a lot of people have loved it. It's just a thing that I don't particularly like. But I thought there were some interesting things done here. God bless him. The guy in the orange or salmon shirt or whatever. The one of the two friends who's outside the gas station while they're waiting for the lady. God bless him. This fella is clearly just a friend of the guys who made this movie, and he's doing his best.
right? It reminded me, honestly, a lot of like some of the performances in Kevin Smith's Clerks, where it's like, okay, we know a couple of
too.
yeah, it's like we know a couple of these people might have had some acting training or done some summer theater stock work or whatever, but this guy is just some dude who's a buddy with the director. Might be the director for all I know. I don't know, but God bless him. He was. I don't want to make anybody feel bad and say he was bad. He was unique. He was a very unique part of this whole thing. When it came down to getting killed, though, he screamed real pretty, so that was nice.
One thing that how do I say this in a nice way, because I do mean it in a nice way, because they are not like 10 out of 10 actors who really got enveloped in their role, especially the gas station attendant. You can tell they had fun making this.
For sure.
Like, you can tell like a lot of the dialogue was ad-libbed, and that like maybe it didn't really fit in, but when they were editing, it made them laugh, so they kept it in. This is kind of the essence of a fan film,
right?
In that it is made by fans just having a good time, and it's not necessarily meant to like super impress anybody. They're just like, man, I like a thing, and I want to do something with my friends, and I love that.
I think the first 3 episodes we released this week, I think Never Hike in the Snow, and Dylan's New Nightmare, and No More Souls. I think again they're definitely fan films, but I think those 3 films very clearly were like somebody trying to get noticed, right? Somebody saying, hey, I'm not just a fan of these kind of movies, I can make these movies. And this is the first one where it's definitely like it's a indie fan film. I was expecting most of these to have some questionable quality acting in them. I don't care. Right, as long as the spirit is there and it's palpable, and that's definitely like everybody involved here was having a great time. They made their sort of half remake, half homage, or sequel to Texas Chain Saw Massacre. Is it perfect? No, not by any means. But it was. I don't regret seeing it. Am I gonna run out to watch it again? Is it the first movie from this week of episodes that I would recommend out of the whole list? No, but I still had a good time with it.
This will be a good time to bring up my not really nitpicky thing, but it's a thing that I
go
don't
ahead.
think a lot of people care about. So I have done some video work in the past, and nothing where like I was even paid. It was essentially this kind of stuff, like just making stuff with friends and having a good time. And this is, if we had attempted a horror movie, this would have been way better than anything we put together. All of our stuff were comedic, so no special effects needed or anything. I just have to say that the editor for this, because this is such an indie thing, they were probably not a professional, and I just want to say that I felt for them so bad, because I have done video editing work, and color correction is the thing that I suck at the most. It's the worst. I cannot tell, like, am I overcorrecting? How do I make this look white? Why does it not look white? Why does it look green? And I don't think I've ever seen a movie before where I became very aware of somebody else's color correcting skills, but
Sure.
It went straight from blue to green to yellow, and like they maintained consistency. They did way better than I would have, but man, I just felt for them, because I was like, I suck at color correcting.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because in a lot of ways I do find myself wondering now if maybe this was a student film. Right? Like, because it does have some of those, like, it feels like a film, like the earlier films we talked about this week felt like films where the people making them had some significant experience under their belt. This film feels like somebody who's just trying to find their feet and work their way through a lot of different things, and I respect the hell out of that. I have friends who went to film school, and I did some ridiculous acting in some short films that they made for their classes. and they're nowhere near what this is. Much the same as, and I never did any editing or color correcting or anything. I acted, and I acted about on the level of the guy in the orange shirt, right? I was obviously terrible. But
specifically, it should be noted, we are not saying we would do better than any of these people.
No. It is what it is, and again, the spirit and the energy is there, so you're willing to forgive its warts and scratches, right? It's clearly a respectable, it has a lot of respect for the franchise. I'd definitely be interested in looking into the people who made this and seeing how much they've maybe done before, and see if there's anything they've done after this, and see what their developing skills look like.
Well, luckily for you, on their YouTube channel, it seems that this was kind of just like a very long project of them making a lot of different Texas Chain Saw Massacre fan stuff. I had kind of checked it out because the description had said it was the end of the series, and their oldest video dates back 7 years, and there's not like a ton of stuff out there, but most of it is Texas Chain Saw Massacre. There's a few other things thrown in there, so I like that they just took a thing that they like a lot and just kept doing it.
Yeah.
I think I would really enjoy these people, even if this wasn't a perfect movie, and I hope if they hear this that they don't think we disliked it. I don't think that's really the case. It's just it was fun to watch.
These people know what they were making. I think that's another part of it, is this movie I feel is very self-aware. They're it's not a multi-million-dollar Hollywood production, right? They probably made this movie for, at most, if you don't, because I assume these are just prosumer cameras that somebody got at Best Buy, and they already had them, not specifically for this movie. Maybe they spent $500 making this thing. Maybe. It is what it is, but for what it is, I thought it was a noble effort.
What if we are completely wrong and these people are all professionals in the industry and it was directed by Michael Bay?
Well, then I'm going to feel... Well, first, I guess let's leave two different things here. When you say we find out it was actually directed by Michael Bay, well, fuck Michael Bay. That's a whole thing. But
Michael can fuck off. Then but
if I do find out that they put significant money and effort into this and they've been doing this sort of thing for a while, well, I'm going to look like an asshole, and it won't be the first or last time.
Yeah, that's true. We do subject ourselves to assholery.
I mean, if it does end up being that way, I'll certainly apologize. But the impression I get here, this feels very student filmy, in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think either of us are meaning that in an insulting way. We are saying
we're so defensive right now. It's
not
perfect. Please don't misunderstand what we're trying to say.
Yeah, because I think the thing is, neither of us are trying to say to please anybody. I don't want anybody involved in this to have their feelings hurt, is my thing. If they do happen to stumble across this, just because I think this was a fun thing.
We appreciate and respect you.
Exactly. We are not trying to bully you at all.
Michelle, let's get out. Let's get out of this loop. Let me throw the switch
Slasher
here.
Discussion.
Yes. So we've been talking about this on and off in little hinted language, because a lot of these franchises that we're doing fan films from this week are legitimate slasher franchises. Well, I say a lot of them. In my estimation, best case scenario, there are 3 slasher films in this selection. We've already talked about, you and I both obviously 100% agree, Friday the 13th is a slasher franchise. We 100% agree Hellraiser's absolutely not a slasher franchise. We talked about A Nightmare on Elm Street, which is definitely a movie that gets lumped in with slashers in a lot of people's discussions. But neither one of us, you or I, believe that A Nightmare on Elm Street is a slasher franchise, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so let's run through the rest of them that's coming up this week, and then we'll come back around to this one, because Texas Chainsaw is, I think, the real hot button spot. We're coming up tomorrow. We have an episode about the Child's Play / Chucky franchise. Is this a slasher franchise, Michelle?
Ooh. I would say yes, but it's an outlier to a traditional slasher.
I agree. This one sort of skirts the border. I think even though it has the supernatural element, well, we'll talk about the specifics here in just a little while. I think the first, while this is still titled Child's Play, those first 3 films, I think this qualifies as a slasher. When we get into the Chucky titles, where a dude got the rights to make his movies, but just couldn't use the name any further, I think they end up doing some things there that take it beyond traditional or definitional slasher territory. So this one is definitely kind of
can bone the lady who looks like Renee Zellweger, but is
right. Yeah.
I don't think that's allowed.
There's a lot of interesting elements there in those later films. So, but then that brings us. So right now we're saying Friday the 13th, yes. Nightmare on Elm Street, no. Hellraiser, no. Child's Play / Chucky. Child's Play, yes. Chucky, no. And Halloween, I think we would both agree, absolutely slasher franchise.
Also, give me some Snickers on Halloween, but yes.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about the Texas Chain Saw Massacre. Is the Texas Chain Saw Massacre? It's not a slasher film. You are correct, Michelle.
Thank you. I like being right every once in a while.
Well, we're going to talk about how the reason you're right is because I explained how people get I get it, guys. I get it. There's a crazy guy in a mask who's murdering people in a house and in the woods. A slasher film, to me, is a very specific collection of things. Michelle actually has mentioned that there's and I've had this discussion several times, and I'm going to be totally honest with you. I don't remember the exact way I phrased it when I expressed the idea to Michelle. So I want to make sure we hit this right. Michelle, do you remember the specific phrasing I used when I explained to you why Texas Chain Saw Massacre is not a slasher and what a slasher is?
I don't recall the exact phrasing, but I can say that simplified, a slasher is all about killing, whereas a non-slasher is about the menacing and the torture and all the psychological damage that goes into it.
Yeah.
Just killing, and it doesn't matter why.
Right, and also a slasher to me is a solo killer, and it's more of a spree killer. Texas Chain Saw Massacre is a group of people. This is all happening on one night. Slashers are about stalking. It's very much a predatory genre. It's all about stalking prey. Texas Chain Saw Massacre is not about that. These kids just fuck around and go someplace they had no business going and stumbled into the wrong place, and now these guys are fucking them up because that's what they do. And there's a group of them. I feel like slashers work solo a lot of the time. There are just so many obvious characteristics that I think for me are definitional as a slasher, and it drives me nuts that people insist on calling this or A Nightmare on Elm Street and those later Chucky movies have way too much supernatural weirdness going on here. As the furthest I'm really willing to let the supernatural go in a slasher franchise is like Friday the 13th or Halloween, where it just seems like these guys are immortal and it doesn't matter what you do to them, they keep not dying or coming back to life. And even the further you get into those, I like the movies less and less. But god damn it, guys, we gotta end the bullshit. Texas Chain Saw Massacre is not a slasher film. Nightmare on Elm Street is not a slasher film. I probably just drove off a whole bunch of people, and I'm sorry.
You know what is a slasher film?
What?
Titanic. I don't know. I didn't have anything queued up. I just didn't know how to segue out
But-
and make it less tense
No,
of you yelling at our fans.
Sorry, and then I'm really passionate about this particular topic, Michelle, because
I think you're right. You changed my mind about it.
Well, and the things you mentioned also, like, yes, a slasher film is about the murder. It's about watching people get killed. It's about watching them get killed in fucked up ways. It's very direct. It's very straightforward. Texas Chain Saw Massacre definitely has some people getting killed in fucked up ways, but that's frankly the most tame element of that film. There is so much other shit going on. The movie is way more, I think, psychedelic and atmospheric than people ever really talk about. It is a fucking, like, especially if you see it in the proper environment where, I mean, if you listen to this movie at the proper volume, it is loud and it will grate on your nerves. This movie is not just about watching Leatherface kill people, and neither is Nightmare on Elm Street. It's not like it's. I get tied up in this whole thing because I get too carried away about it. But
curious question.
Yeah.
Is Scream a slasher?
Yes and no. This is actually something. Have we talked about this?
No.
I think it depends. Here's what I think Scream is. Scream is the American equivalent of an Italian giallo film, which some people would say is like in a Venn diagram. It's like either overlaps with slashers or is a complete subset of slashers. But whereas the slasher film is about a dude nothing in Friday the 13th is about who is this killer in the mask that's offing all these people. It's Jason Voorhees and he's a fucking maniac. Same thing with Halloween. None of it is a mystery. No part of the events, and that is a very giallo film. They're murder films, but they're very real life murder films. There's no, it's not like. Have you seen Dario Argento's Deep Red?
Yes, I did not like that one.
Okay, did you see the 2-hour version or the hour and 40-minute version?
We've had this discussion, and I no longer remember. I did not like it.
Okay, fair enough. But no,
you made me watch a bunch of Argento because I didn't like Argento, and
so
I found a few things I like now.
That ultimately is where I come down on Scream. Is I consider Scream to be an American giallo because yes, it's definitely about murder, but the mystery of who is this killer is crucial to the story, whereas the slasher film is just about some people who fucked around and found out.
You know what? Yep, I agree.
Awesome.
I don't have a way to close this segment. You did a good rant, and I agree with it.
Maybe we'll get some emails or some social media. Guys, look, first of all, let me be clear. I'm just some fucking dimwit in Fargo, North Dakota who likes horror movies, right?
And
please
is currently holding his dog like a baby.
Right. Please don't take this as me being like, look, if you have your own definitions, if you want to call Texas Chain Saw Massacre a slasher movie, whatever. I just like to get carried away sometimes about these things because, as it turns out, I'm a very detail-oriented person. Because as it turns out, I might have some undiagnosed obsessive-compulsive disorder. Is Michelle surprised? No.
Not.
What else do we need to talk about, Michelle?
What other diagnoses do you have? No, I'm kidding. No.
Oh,
we'll be here for hours. We'll be here for hours. I know 3 of them.
No, I only have one actual diagnosis, or 2 actual diagnoses, and it's anxiety and depression. Everything else is a suspected self-diagnosis.
Well, I know of 5 of your potential diagnoses.
Right. What I have is psychological hypochondria.
Yeah,
I
me
feel
too.
like I
I feel like I'm ADHD, ASD, bipolar type 2, OCD. I got all the things, guys.
I don't know how to bring us out of this.
I do. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.
Hot damn it, Michelle, for the second time this week, we forgot to score a movie before we wrapped it up because I got carried away on a rant. First, it was a tirade about justice for Butterball. Then it was a tirade about how Texas Chain Saw Massacre is a fucking amazing film, but it's not a slasher. We forgot to score Family Recipe. Do you want to give it a
This is why we
score?
shouldn't record for 3-hour sessions.
Or maybe it's why we should always record for 3-hour sessions.
We do get silly. You know what? It's got a lot of heart, even if it didn't fully work for me. I'm going to go with a 3.
3.5 from me. I'm giving this one a 3.5.
Sweet. Ooh, you rated it higher than I thought you would. So sweet. I think that is.
I appreciate the ambition of it. I thought it was. I thought it was really enjoyable on that level.
I really want to be friends with the gas station attendant, even if he's involved in my murder. He made me laugh a lot.
Well,
I'm
it's
okay
too
getting
late for
murdered
you.
by
He
him.
got shotgun blasted.
Well, damn it. I'll bring him back to life. It happened in Chucky. Okay.
Fair
Anyway,
enough.
also, Chucky's bride is Jennifer Tilly, and I feel so awful that I forgot her name. She's beautiful, and I love her. Okay, now we're really out.
Yeah,
Say
because
goodnight,
I believe
JD.
what you said was Renee Zellweger.
No, I said she looks like Renee Zellweger, because I always get them mixed up. They have
Oh,
similar
okay.
voices.
All right,
Okay,
fair enough.
say goodnight, JD.
Good night, JD.
We Watch Shudder is a production of Rat Factory Media, your home for all of today's Rat Factoryist podcasts. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests of We Watch Shudder are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Rat Factory Media. But wait, aren't Rat Factory Media and We Watch Shudder the same people? Shut your cake hole, Charlie. Nobody asked you. We Watch Shudder is available free on all major podcast platforms, and the easiest way to support We Watch Shudder is also free. Just leave a rating and review on your platform of choice. Merge your consciousness with ours on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We're at We Watch Shudder on all those social media platforms. Or find us the old-fashioned way, on the web at WeWatchShudder.com or by email at mail@WeWatchShudder.com. Heck, you can even leave us a voicemail at 701-566-9510. No, seriously, 701-566-9510. Try it if you dare.